What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. This is going to be a little bit of a more in-depth rundown on a custom install that I did on a Saberforge Oracle. So I did a custom removable chassis with this particular install, so I do want to go over the chassis a little bit and go over what went into the install. So the thing about Saberforge, this is the first time I've revisited a Saberforge hilt in a long time. We're almost approaching the year anniversary of the Saberforge Dooku install. All joking aside, so this is the first time I've revisited a Saberforge hilt. Now, the caveat with Saberforge hilts, specifically with the Eco line, is that here's the hilt. So the hilt is not modular. It is one straight tube. So you've got two options as far as chassis go. Not that we have many more than that, right? But so you could either do a static internal chassis with, say, a speaker pod and a recharge port at the bottom for data and recharging, or you could do a removable. So of course I went with a removable setup for this one, and I also did a speaker pod setup on this one. So a little bit different for me. So it's just, there's just not a heck of a lot of room to play with on the internals, because you've got to make room for these AV switches, or actually these are just regular momentary switches on this one, right? So let's come into Fusion and talk about the chassis really quick. Here is the chassis that I designed for this hilt. Typical greebly work around both sides of the chassis. Proffie board sits in this top tray and does slide under that lip a little bit to secure itself. Plenty of room to get at the board and the SD and USB port if need be. You don't even have to take the Proffie board out on this one. If you've got a 90-degree USB connector, that's perfect. Battery tray is here. We do have a kill switch up top. I have a 6-rail PCB that comes up the top here. This is from Stardust Sabers. This is how we make a connection to the rest of the hilt as well as the switches. Along the bottom, I also did a cap for a speaker pod. So the PCB ring, 2-rail PCB, sits in this chamber, and I just wired that up and then glued that cap to the bottom of the chassis, right? And that's it. Nice, quick, and easy, small little guy. I think it's like just over 1 inch on the internals for this. So it's just a nice little all-in-one banger, right? So let's come up top. All right, so here is the hilt. This was sent to me as is from the client, already wrapped. We've got an unscrewable pommel, cover tech, and 2 switches. Really, really simple setup, okay? I don't know that you technically call this a thin neck. It does get a little thinner on the internal here. But again, just a nice utilitarian hilt. It does look really, really rad. I like that knurled section here. There's a knurled section in the pommel as well. Just a nice hilt, right? So let's talk about how to use this guy. So here is the chassis, okay? You want to take the flat part of your battery and put it in spring side is negative. So flat part of your battery is negative, spring side is your negative. Now this is a very tight chassis, okay? So you want to put your battery in and just make sure it's snug and secure. This was already on, but if I am looking at the chassis, the kill switch to the right is on. Kill switch to the left is off, right? So once you get your battery in, you want to unscrew your pommel. So here is that Pogo pin connector for the speaker pod that is in this pommel. And these are both from top and bottom from Smugglers Outpost. I really appreciate these speaker Pogo sets because they are the same size on each side. And what I did actually realize something today. They incorporated the ability to snap off part of this piece. So if you don't have a lot of room, you can actually snap this in half. So if you've got to have room for the board and the SD card and still have a Pogo pin PCB, you can do that. I really appreciate that about Smuggler's Pogo design, right? So take your chassis, slide it into the hilt. Does not matter which way it goes in, okay? And then you screw in your pommel. You're ready to go. So let's come down to the bottom here. I am pleasantly surprised with how well this sounds.
I'm never touching that thing again.
This is a 24 millimeter speaker from Smugglers as well. Just sounds great in that speaker pod. I'm really, like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised with how loud it is. So the Hilt does have a blade plug. I guess this came from Saberforge. This came with the Hilt when the client sent it. You want to unscrew that set screw. Take your blade plug out. Let's get a blade. So you want to set your blade down into that emitter so it's resting on those PCB pins, and then tighten your set screw. And you're good to go. No, you're not. You're not good to go. So I didn't put that down enough. There we go. Okay. So the client did request that I put some specific fonts on this. One of them being a Godzilla font, and one of them being Temple Guardian, which either of which I have not heard yet, but Temple Guardian sounds fantastic, and what I appreciate, as well as you know, when font smiths include blade styles, it's really handy. So this is Temple Guardian. Really, really cool sounding hilt. So to activate color wheel, okay, to the client, you want to hold down aux and tap main, and then you just twist the blade until you find a color you like, and then tap main, and it will lock that in. Now, looking at the hilt, this top button is your main. Let's turn that off. You probably can't even hear me. The top button is your main, bottom is your aux, right? Twist to activate, twist to deactivate are both on. Here's the Godzilla font. Interesting font. So then I just put another, you know, all of the typical free fonts that Proffie offers, and some of them are free grayscale fonts with my own blade styles on there, right? So again, a really, really straightforward Saberforge install. I mean, the hilt is a great hilt. This is the first time I've actually held an Oracle in hand. It's a fantastic hilt, honestly. I'm just never a fan of these big AV switches, but unfortunately with Saberforge, there's not much else you can do because they come from factory with those big holes. But I feel like just having the regular silver on silver looks great. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching, everybody. To the client, thank you very much for trusting me with your install. If anyone has any questions or comments, please don't be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Thanks for watching, everybody.